Good evening, YouTube. Okay, my name is Vince, and I'm a student at Manhattanville College. I host a New York sports talk show called Sports with V.A.N. I do the show once a week for 2 hours, so I have a 2 hour New York sports talk show once a week called Sports with V.A.N. Today was my last show of the fall semester, and my show will not be appearing back on WMVL Manhattanville College radio station until the spring, which is the end of January. So I figure since I won't be doing my show from today until January, that leaves a large gap. So I figured that I would do my show on YouTube instead of WMVL because WMVL radio station is closed for the winter. So I figured I'd from now until we come back in the air in January, I'd do my show on YouTube. So, as I said, today was my final show of the semester. So, since I'm just starting this YouTube thing, I figured I would redo my show from today right now on YouTube and make it a weekly appearance. So every Tuesday I would do my show Sports with Van, just like I would be doing on WMBL, but this time on YouTube. Okay, so let's start. Our first topic today is baseball. So the first news we have to announce is that Jose Reyes, the all-star shortstop of the New York Mets, has signed with the Florida Marlins. So Jose Reyes signs with the Marlins on a 6-year contract. This is absolutely huge news because the Mets' best player was Jose Reyes. He was a good hitter, a good defensive shortstop. He had a great arm at shortstop, and he had agility and he had speed. He stole many bases per season. He was by far the Mets' best player. And today, actually yesterday, news broke that he signed with the Florida Marlins. So that is a big hit for the New York Mets and their organization. I think one of the main reasons why Jose ended up signing with the Marlins was because the Mets did not have enough money to retain him. The Mets organization, the Wilpons, are still recovering from the Bernie Madoff scandal situation. So because of the Bernie Madoff situation and because of the loan that they have to repay to Major League Baseball, which they took out last year, the Mets do not have much money. So therefore, the Mets decided to step away from the Reyes sweepstakes, allowing the Florida Marlins to go in there and sign him. So we'll see how this goes in Florida. Florida also signed Heath Bell, and they're linked to Albert Pujols. So the Miami Marlins are really trying to build a team down there in South Florida. Okay. The second piece of news we are going to announce here is that Bobby Valentine, Met fans remember him for being their manager during during the late 90s and early 2000s, leading them to the wild card in 1999 and 2000. Well, Bobby Valentine has signed to be the manager of the Boston Red Sox. I say good for Bobby. He's been away from baseball for a couple of years, managing in Japan. Now he gets a chance to manage the Boston Red Sox. So we'll see how Bobby does in a high pressure situation in Boston. I think he'll do a good job. He's a great manager, so I like the deal. I think Red Sox Nation got themselves a great manager in Bobby Valentine. Okay, the next piece of news we have to report is that David DeJesus, the outfielder former, formerly with the Kansas City Royals and formerly with the Oakland Athletics, has signed with the Chicago Cubs. Now, this deal is worthwhile because Theo Epstein, the former Red Sox general manager, has signed on to be the new manager of the Chicago Cubs, and this is really Theo's first move as Cubs manager, bringing DeJesus, the heavy hitting outfielder, to the outfield fold in Chicago. So I like the move. I think DeJesus will fit good in Chicago, and this is the first of many moves to come for Theo Epstein. Okay. Next, we have a trade as the Anaheim Angels have acquired catcher Chris Iannetta from the Colorado Rockies in exchange for Tyler Chatwood. Now, many casual baseball fans will remember Chris Iannetta from the 2009 World Baseball Classic, as Chris Iannetta was the starting catcher for Team USA. And he was the Rockies' starting catcher. You know, he was an all-star. He was a great defensive and offensive catcher. Now he goes to Anaheim, so he becomes the Anaheim Angels starting catcher. And Tyler Chatwood, the young starting pitcher from the Anaheim Angels, goes to the Colorado Rockies. Okay. Next, we have a free agent signing to report, a pretty big one, as Jonathan Broxton, the former closer of the Los Angeles Dodgers, today has signed with the Kansas City Royals. So Broxton, you know, was an all-star closer every single year for the Dodgers. This past year, he was relegated to the eighth inning role as he's lost a lot of his velocity and command. But the Kansas City obviously didn't think so because they picked up the closer and he will be their eighth inning guy as the Kansas City Royals already have a closer in Joaquin Soria. So Broxton will be the eighth inning guy for Kansas City. So I like this move a lot. I think now Kansas City could possibly deal Joaquin Soria in the offseason because now they have Broxton who can be their closer. So I like the move on Kansas City's part. Okay, next, we have another deal involving a closer. The Miami Marlins, as I said earlier, have signed Heath Bell. Heath Bell originally started with the New York Mets, was unhappy with his role, so asked to be traded. He went to the San Diego Padres. Now, any casual baseball fan knows that San Diego 3 years ago had the best closer of all time, Trevor Hoffman, 602 career saves. Trevor Hoffman retired, so San Diego was in need of a closer, so they brought in Heath Bell. Heath Bell completely changed the culture in San Diego, getting 40 save seasons, getting all-stars. He was absolutely phenomenal. And now Heath Bell, after being so good in San Diego, hits free agency and signs with Miami. And again, yesterday Miami signed Jose Reyes. So now they have Heath Bell and Jose Reyes, and they also reportedly sent a 10-year deal out to Albert Pujols. So we'll see what is to come of the Miami Marlins. Okay, next we have the Los Angeles Dodgers. They have signed former Met, excuse me, the Dodgers have signed former Met starting pitcher Chris Capuano to a 2-year deal. Chris Capuano played with the Milwaukee Brewers and last year played with the New York Mets and had a very, very, very good season with the New York Mets. Bounce back season after having two, not one, but two Tommy John surgeries. So Chris Capuano, after his 1 year with the Mets, having a great year, a bounce back season, has signed with the Dodgers. Now, this is the second player the Mets have lost this offseason. First Jose Reyes and now Chris Capuano. So, without Capuano, we're going to see what counter move the Mets will have in their starting rotation. Maybe a Henry Mejia or a Zach Wheeler will be ready, but I doubt that. So they'll probably sign maybe a veteran starting excuse me, maybe they'll sign a veteran starting pitcher to a minor league deal. That might make the most sense for the Mets at this point. Okay, next we have the Angels, and they acquire left-handed pitcher Brad Mills from the Toronto Blue Jays for catcher Jeff Mathis. As we reported earlier, the Angels acquired Chris Iannetta, the Rockies catcher, to be their regular catcher. So now the Angels have no longer need for their starting catcher, Jeff Mathis. So the Angels have shipped Jeff Mathis to Toronto in exchange for Brad Mills. So this is good for the Angels. So then they don't have to worry about Iannetta and Mathis complaining about who gets more catching time. They'll send Mathis away, so it'll be just Iannetta, and they'll get a good quality starting pitcher in Brad Mills. And also, you might be thinking, what about the Colorado Rockies? They just traded Chris Iannetta, now they have no catcher. Well, the Rockies have signed Ramon Hernandez to a deal. Ramon Hernandez, as you may know, was formerly the catcher of the Baltimore Orioles, and these past couple of years he's been the catcher of the Cincinnati Reds. So a well-rounded veteran catcher, a good presence behind the plate, a good arm, and also good offensively. Excuse me. So Ramon Hernandez joins the Colorado Rockies to be their everyday catcher. So that basically wraps up the hot stove since our last episode. So basically, just to run it down again, Jose Reyes goes to the Marlins, Bobby Valentine goes to the Red Sox, David DeJesus goes to the Cubs, the Angels get Chris Iannetta, the Royals got Jonathan Broxton, the Marlins got Heath Bell, the Dodgers got Chris Capuano, The Angels got Jeff Mathis, and the Rockies got Ramon Hernandez. So that basically wraps up our baseball segment for today as we run down where all the new free agents have signed. So next we're going to get into some football. As many people know, I am a diehard fan of the New York Jets, so I will be talking about the New York Jets mostly on this program. So the New York Jets played the Washington Redskins last week. The Jets got the W. I believe it was 34-19. The Jets got the win. Mark Sanchez during the first two quarters wasn't really at his A game. He had an okay time the first two quarters, but he wasn't really at his A game. But once that third quarter and fourth quarter hit, he regained his composure and he was very nice. He was very accurate with the ball. He made smart decisions. So I really like to applaud Mark for his performance in the third and fourth quarter as that eventually led to the Jets win. And for the wide receivers, Santonio Holmes had a very nice game. At one point in the game, he made a very impressive one-handed catch on the run. He was running full speed, and Sanchez threw him the ball, and he caught it with one hand, which I thought was very impressive. Plaxico Burress also had a good game with a couple of catches. So overall, the offense played very well. As I said before, it took a little while. It took until the third quarter for the offense to really click. But once they clicked, they really did good, and I was very impressed with the offense. As with the defense, I was very impressed, especially with Aaron Maben, the former Buffalo Bill, who's now playing defense for the New York Jets in Rex Ryan's system. He actually got he got a sack, and it turned up being a fumble in a recovery that the Jets took over. So I was very impressed with Aaron Maben and the entire New York Jets defense. I thought they played good. Um, there were points in the game where I thought Washington was going to end up getting the W, but as I said before, the Jets got hot at the perfect time late, and they were able to come up with that win. Now, just a preview, next week the New York Jets will be home at the Meadowlands to face the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs, formerly quarterbacked by Matt Castle. Matt Castle got injured, and then they had their second string quarterback in there. But there were rumors, and that became fact, that the Kansas City Chiefs picked up Kyle Orton off waivers. The Denver Broncos, obviously, now that they have Tim Tebow, there is no need for Kyle Orton. So the Denver Broncos put Tim Tebow as their starting quarterback, and they put Kyle Orton on the block, and the Chiefs has picked up Kyle Orton. So we'll see. It will be a battle between Mark Sanchez and Kyle Orton. The Chiefs really had a disappointing year so far. They did get some good wins early, but now it has been pretty much a disappointment. But the Jets do have a reputation of kind of losing to the teams where they should be. So hopefully this week they could beat the Chiefs. Okay, so that was basically what was discussed today on Sports with Van. I'll be back with you guys on YouTube next Tuesday for episode 8 of Sports with Van. And again, like I said, Sports with Van is a New York sports talk show. Um, on WMVL, which is the official radio station of Manhattanville College. After the fall semester, WMVL goes on break until the spring semester. So I figured I wanted to keep Sports with Van going strong. So I didn't want to completely not do my show until the spring. So I figured until the spring, I'll do my weekly show on YouTube instead of WMVL. So that was this week's show. A lot of hot stove. Obviously, the biggest move was Jose Reyes being signed by the Miami Marlins. We'll have more about that next week. Next week we will also have a review for you. We will review the Jets game against the Kansas City Chiefs, and we'll have some more good stuff with you next week. So this was our YouTube debut. I think we did a good job. I want to thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys. So we'll be back with you next week for episode 8 of Sports with Van. We'll see you there.